Good morning, Jennifer Brown. How are you?
Good morning, Jen Grace. I'm good. Happy Thursday and happy September. I don't know if happy is the word, but mixed feelings. Welcome to September.
Yeah, and it just continues to astonish me that we started doing these videos in March and it's now September. And and we're still here. We're still in COVID. We're still adapting and modifying and doing new things because we are really kind of being forced to. So, good times.
Good times. But so I'm so excited for Val to join us today. Hi, Val. Welcome.
Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Jen. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited I'm always excited to have these conversations because we never really know where the conversation is going to take us. But Val, you and I have the joy of seeing each other every week in a writing group. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of mutual friends whom we love and adore, specifically Eduardo Placer and Deb Driscoll. Superhumans that we both love. And so I feel like I have such a good understanding of like what you do and how you show up in the world and what a badass you are. But I would love to just kind of start there with just giving, those who are watching just a little taste of what it is that you are all about.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share. I'm all about the love. I'm all about connection and community and supporting one another. Yeah, so in my work as a career coach, I support people around learning how to reframe what it is to network. I'm a power networker. I don't fool around. I'm always listening for how I can be of service when I'm meeting people. I've disappeared the concept of stranger because I don't believe that we're strangers. I believe that we're all connected. So I really coach people around just sharing who you are and being curious about the other, and then listening for how you can be of service to them or to their families, and listening for whatever opportunity presents themselves, because it may not be an opportunity for you. It may be an opportunity to share with somebody else. So so a lot of my work is around that. And I also do some work around with women empowerment. My crew is the 50+ crew, powerful crew. I believe in the power of the power and potential and the wisdom that comes with aging, and how there's so much that we have to offer as we go through life. So I love reminding women that we're still viable, we're still desirable, we're still interested and engaged. So a lot of my work has to do with that as well.
I love that.
And with students, right, Val? Like you also have a regular interaction with younger folks. I can say that because I'm almost in your cohort of the 50s. Something.
Yes.
1 more year.
I love my full-time job is with Hunter College, where I'm the assistant director of student affairs. So I advise graduate students in the counseling program, and I work with undergraduate students and do a lot of leadership development. So I'm constantly engaging with people who are at different stages of their lives, and I just love the intergenerational conversations and the learning that occurs between, among all groups.
So where did we were obviously chatting and mingling prior to hitting live. So where did this concept to you come from of a life-driven career? Because I feel like in all of the things that you talk about, like that's really what you're leading with first. And, you're debunking this whole like work-life balance myth that doesn't actually exist. So why life-driven career?
Yes. So for most of my life, I've been career-driven, going on to get my degrees and my licenses, moving up, working in not-for-profit for the most part, moving up very quickly, and working a lot, like consultant work and full-time gig. And then I was married, for 20 some odd years. And honestly, my marriage was not even like it was not a focal point for me, sadly. And I was really just driven to, get the next job, make the next contact, get the next contract. And I got to a point where I was like, this is ridiculous, because I loved what I did. I thought that was where it was at, my passion. I'm living my passion. It's all good. Meanwhile, my relationship suffered, my health suffered, My spirituality was not being nourished. And then I realized this is some crazy stuff. And we can be just so driven career-wise, we forget our life. And so it got to a point for me, and I did a lot of work too. That's another thing. I really invest in yourself. I really am committed to, I've over the years invested in my own personal and professional development. And that's where you really get in touch with who you are, because it's not out there. It's not in your job, it's not in your career. It's really, so just this idea of, let me put the brakes on this and reevaluate what is most important in my life, remember who I am and what is, And so I just started this path of looking at my full life. And so I ended up separating, and there were other things happening in the marriage. I ended up separating, and at that point, I was like, you know what? I want home as sanctuary, because I didn't have home as sanctuary. I like Judge Judy, by the way. I think she can be whatever sometimes, but I do this a lot. I wanted home as sanctuary, and that was when it really started to like, okay, this is what I want my environment to feel like. Not just in my home, but this is what I want my work environment to look like. And I declared I want to work with people who are loving, kind, compassionate, and competent, and want to see my success, and I get paid. And I was very clear about that declaration. And I'm telling you, my work is lovely. Beautiful people who love one another, support one another. In my business, I do what I love, and I'm living a life that I love, creating a new relationship with a partner that has been challenging but exciting. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
Wow. I'm curious, because that seems like such a pivot, right? So we're not talking about like we're at 90 degrees and we're moving to 75. We're talking like we are doing a full kind of 180 in regards to kind of like how you have kind of approached your life. How long did it like take you to kind of like really see the fruits of all of that labor to like make that very dramatic pivot?
Do you know it's all about choice? That's the thing. It doesn't have to take us long to choose to live a particular way, with support, by the way, because let me say this, I have a loving network of friends and family. And so part of what I've been very intentional about is creating my network of people around me who are loving and kind and supportive. Not people who are going to say yes now to everything, but people who see life as possibility. Like you can create your life, and people who want to nurture that kind of positive energy to move forward, and people you can be yourself with, and cry or scream. But this idea of coming into your authentic self, I think, is really key. And that takes work. So, I mean, I've done like years, maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years of doing personal and professional development work, transformational work, that had me really focus on myself. How do I show up in the world? What am I withholding? How am I hiding? What am I resisting? All of that. And it's ongoing. But I was so grateful to get to the source of who I am, and then allow myself to blossom and bloom, and to bring people into my circle that are like-minded and powerful.
That's excellent. Val, you specialize in networking, and networking gets a bad rap. Most people are terrified of it. They roll their eyes about it. I personally have always I'm so extroverted, as Jen Grace knows. It's never been a challenge for me. In fact, I sort of love jumping into the mosh pit in a party where I don't know anyone. I'm just a weird bird that way. But I think what fuels me is, that self-comfort. I think that stability that you have when you walk into a room, having done the work on the self, it strikes me that you can stand in a room like that, and instead of feeling perhaps less than, you can be actually not only present, but if your goal then is to sort of somehow be of service to others in your networking, and have that be kind of what you lead with, it's to me, it's always felt very then not scary, not intimidating, not uncomfortable or inauthentic, but actually very authentic indeed, because I'm always curious, and I always do want to help, and I always assume there's something I can find that I can contribute, and I always assume there's something that will be mutually exchanged And so going in with that belief and that lens into a room where you know no one, I think would change what people think about networking. So does that square with how you teach this concept and what you want people to know most about how they approach it?
Yes, very much so. And I also request we just do away with these labels about introvert, extrovert stuff. You know what I mean? Because I can be extroverted and I can be very kind of like, just give it up. Give it up. It starts there, because then we label ourselves, we put ourselves in a box, and we feel we have to show up a particular way all the time. And that's those terms are made up as far as I'm concerned. So it's really just, I think the more comfortable and the more confident and comfortable you feel, and the more you're willing to just share. So using networking as an opportunity just to share. And how about this? With no attachment. So you're not, it doesn't, like whether you get a lead or if it's a job or not, you're not attached to that. You're more committed to being of service. You're more committed to sharing. You're more committed to being curious about the other. I think it takes on a whole lot. And if you, like I said, I disappear the concept of strangers. So I'm the one that's rolling up to people on the street and, hey, how you do, because, and so like when I was younger, working in organizations, I used to be intimidated by people who had titles, who held a particular title. And as I got older, I realized these are people too. These are people too, with their own insecurities, with their own concerns. I realized in my career, there were people who I thought were standoffish. They held a particular title. I'll never forget the president of the organization that I worked with. I thought he was standoffish. He was shy. He was shy. That's why he had people around him all the time. I thought he felt he had to have an entourage, but he needed to feel a sense of security. So I also say to people, don't think you know who people are. Don't think you figure people out unless you actually talk to them, question them, or challenge them on a particular issue. We don't know each other. So if you start up a clean slate, then you're able to create on top of that.
I love that so much. I feel like it's like the old adage of you can't judge a book by its cover, right? You can't really judge the entirety of someone's character based on a very minimal interaction in any type of setting, whether it's a group dinner where there's a lot of people or whether it's a big old networking event. Yeah. I think we oftentimes do that because our brains are just hardwired to put people into buckets.
Yeah. If we're willing to look into people's soul, if we're willing to take on that people want the best, this is my premise, people want the best for you. I know what's happening in the world. I'm not crazy. And I've done, by the way, a lot of conversations around social justice for Black and brown people. That's something else that opened up for me. So I understand the tensions that exist. And I can still be of service, and I still can come from a place of love.
Well, that's so beautiful and so important. And so, that's not small, because I do think we are living in the midst of pain, hurt, anger, all justified, and to be loving and gracious, and continuing to come from this place of abundance and really seeing and hearing people in this moment. I think it calls on us in a really different way. I wonder if any of your resilience has been tested, or your trademark positivity and optimism that we can feel. And Jenn's known you longer than I have, but maybe if you have any tips for us when we feel sort of overwhelmed by the moment and we want to return to some of these principles that we've been talking about. Do you have any advice, and what's that been like for you? Or is it something that somebody like you feels very equipped for this moment? Maybe very uniquely so.
Well, let's say that we've all been challenged, I think on some level, by so much, that the pandemic in and of itself, with the deaths and the devastation and the losses, and then with all of this uprising around racial injustices, which we know have been happening for over time. I think for me, what's key is staying plugged in to power, whether it's conversations with people who are supportive and engaged and hopeful, and keep it real. or I find myself reading more these days. I had not seriously, I had not picked up a book and read it in its entirety in years. In years. This pandemic, I'm reading all these books, and this one book I have to tell you about if you haven't read it. The Soul of Money. I was talking to Jenn about this. That book, holy moly, doesn't it? Oh my God. I mean, talk about reframing abundance, right? One of the things they talk about, reframing abundance, not as excess, but of recognizing what resources you currently have. I mean, so it's like tapping into people and to material. You have to surround yourself. Watch when the pandemic was at first, when we first were, dealing with it in early March. I was listening to that news 24/7. I had to turn that thing off. I had to turn that thing. So really being intentional about what you're putting in your space, and really being clear about what you want and what kind of environment, what kind of energy, what kind of messages, what do you want to have in your space such that you would be joyful, productive, connected, and calm. I mean, we have to work at that sometimes. We have to work at it. And I think it's all there for us, those resources, and we have to really seek it out.
Yeah, I think we have to seek out the positive and banish the negative. And you said before, Val, when I asked you about the life-driven career question, you said it's all about choices. So it's circling back again to just making that choice to pick the positive versus the negative, or live in that positive, even if maybe you don't 100% feel it, but at least pushing yourself in that direction, because eventually it's like the whole thoughts become things type of
right
mindset.
And I guess I don't even come from positive negative. It just is the world that we live in. There's racism, there's sexism, there's homophobia, there's ageism, and then there's joy. There's joy, there's beauty, there are opportunities, it's all there. So I don't have to choose and define it as such. Yeah. I believe in the possibility that people want good, people want joy, people want comfort, and people want support. How do we get there? That's
there is no other question. That's it.
I didn't get there. I know that's what I'm creating for myself. And living in Harlem, it's wild. I mean, it's like, and it feels like home. I grew up in Queens. I never thought I'd end up in Harlem, but there's a beauty in Harlem. There's a community in Harlem. It's gritty in Harlem, and it's real in Harlem, and it's diverse in Harlem. It's all of that. The music is going. I love that. I'm a 70s girl, so I love the throwback. You know what I'm saying? So how do you create a life where you can thrive? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I think I'm gonna stay here for a while.
Sounds like a place to be. I want to go on this. I want to go on this ride too. It sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
Just absorbing that.
I see you noodling on that.
I'm noodling. I'm noodling as a New Yorker, Val. I know, I'm in the downtown version. And of Manhattan, right? So it's different. I have a mixed relationship with my neighborhood for lots of reasons. I moved here as a young LGBTQ person, just barely out, and even then I feel like it had transitioned as a neighborhood to something different. And even then I felt, I think, nostalgic for something that I pictured it used to be, perhaps, and now it's totally moved on.
Wow.
And I miss, if there was any grit, certainly, and realness, it's just really changed. And now Manhattan's going to go through yet another series of changes, in the coming months. And, but is testing us living here. Many of my neighbors have not come back. There's lots of change going on. And yet And yet, the city is the city that will never die, and that it has been underestimated a million gazillion times and continues to show how resilient it is. So you are a product of it.
Yeah. I know a lot of people leaving Manhattan And my thing is like this. At this point, I don't know if there's any other place I want to live. I'm comfortable here right now, and I'm just going to stay. I'm also a believer in being guided, like really listening for that guidance to kind of help us navigate the world. So right now, my guidance says stay for now. We'll see. I'm not attached.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. I'm just not attached. I'm just believing that I'm being guided through this world and that I'm going to be taken care of. And these are beliefs that really help to ground me too. No matter what, I'm going to be taken care of. And I want to say this. I talked to a lot of women about this. A couple of years ago when I was going through what I was going through, I just said, you know what, I'm tired of taking care of everything and feeling like I'm running stuff, and I'm tired. And I declared, I want to be taken care of. And that has shown up in the small, from somebody, I like to wear earrings, from somebody running after me on the street with my earring I done dropped off, they're running to give it to me, or leaving my phone in many places and someone's running, to finding like a beautiful space to live. With a doorman, I never thought I would have a doorman. I never asked for anything like that, or being in a relationship with someone who says, I want to take care of you, or having a job where we take care of each other, So for the career-driven woman who feels like they are missing or don't know that they may be missing out on a life that's bigger than their career, I request that you ask to be taken care of. It doesn't mean that you're sitting on your butt. It just means that you're allowing universe to come and support you, because it gets tiring holding it down on your own.
True.
I was just having a conversation with a friend the other night, and we were talking about that very hard balance of being a business owner and self-care, and how when you focus on one, the other suffers. And it's a kind of just this weird imbalance that is hard to strike not trying to find a balance with it, but some kind of harmony that can work. And we were both saying how, like, because of COVID, like in so many ways, you're kind of forced to focus a little bit more on self-care, because if not, we're all going to lose our minds. But when you focus on that, you're taking away your focus on the things that are going to produce revenue and get new clients and things like that. So I'm curious, what your thoughts are about that, Val.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I'm working with, I have a client right now who is very career driven. And, again, see, it all depends upon your circumstance, right? Because some folks, you may not be in a position, to hire a coach, because I know that everyone may not have it like that. But for those business folks who can consider working with a coach, I highly recommend it. Whether it's a coach you're paying or someone you can just connect with, someone who can hold you accountable, doesn't have to be out of pocket, but just having someone that you can kind of talk about your life with and identify what's most important to you, because it's really going to come down to choice. I mean, some people have to draw an income, they're the only breadwinner. I don't know. I don't have the answer for all. All I know is that there's a way that you can navigate your life so that you're not driving yourself crazy and getting sick, because that's the other thing. That's the consequence of not being able to manage your life powerfully. You get sick, either spiritually or physically. There's just that. So how do we make it work? And you know what I think? I think we need to rely on each other more. I think we need to rely on each other more for support. I'm talking about financial support, emotional support, and spiritual support. I think we try to do too much on our own. I think that if we really pulled our resources together, we can make this thing work, this life work. I really believe that.
Yeah, I do too. And I think it's just one of the, I think my whole takeaway from this conversation so far has been, it's all about choices. Like, it's truly just about the different choices that we can make and choose to live a more abundant life, or choose to live in better balance. Because I know for me in the past, and I actually write a little bit about this in my memoir that recently came out, but like I would run myself so far into the ground that I would get super sick. And it was like, I feel like it was my body's way of being like, you need to slow down. And if you can't do it on your own, we're going to force you to do it. And that is not a healthy way to live at all. Fortunately, that hasn't happened to me in a couple of years, but in the past, that was 100% my MO, as I would just go until I couldn't go anymore, and then I'd be out for like a week or two.
And I'm really trying to support people around not pushing yourself. I did too. I remember I had Graves' disease in 1997. I thought I had the flu. It was because I was working so hard. My body was telling me I had knots in my stomach. My body was telling me enough is enough. I ignored it, and I got sick. You know, I mean, why do we have to go there? You know, so like, what preventative measures can we take to support ourselves? And I really believe that one is collaboration and community.
Yeah.
It takes a village, right?
It really is.
Yeah.
We think we're not connected. We think we walk around like we're not each other's support here. That, you know, I just feel like if we can just open ourselves up to the possibility of creating those kinds of relationships, and we can get that kind of support. And it starts with a declaration. Might I add that the power of your word. It starts with you just saying it, and miracles show up. I really believe in miracles, by the way. So.
I agree. This is so great, Val. I mean, picked up much from this conversation. We are what we digest, and controlling that. And then also what we were just talking about, which is sort of looking for those moments of release to release the pressure on a regular basis so that it doesn't build up to the point where we're overwhelmed and we didn't see it coming. You know, we've got to pace ourselves so that we can be of service to others. So that's just beautiful. Thank you.
This has been such a good conversation. And I'm always so shocked at how quickly they go. And it's like, all right, it's already been almost a half an hour. Like, how exactly did that happen? But here we are. Val, do you have any final, I don't know, takeaways, departing words, things that we haven't yet discussed that would be, you know, some inspiration that you want to share?
I guess I would close by saying, trust yourself, trust your instinct and your gut, and be willing to step outside your comfort zone, because that's where transformation lives. Be willing to take your life on and give up it's too over, it's impossible, it can't happen. Just take on being willing to create a life that you love.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's really good. I love that so much. Yes. So we're going to make better choices that work for us. We're going to take action, and we're going to make a declaration that we're going to do things differently, and for the betterment of ourselves and for our community around us. I love that.
Thank you, Val. This has been incredible.
Yeah. Val, why don't you, we have your website scrolling along the bottom, but you know, is that the best place to find you? Social media? What's your
Sure. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. If you look for me, Val J. Lyons on Instagram, Valerie J. Lyons Enterprises on Facebook, and on LinkedIn, just search for Valerie Lyons, you'll find me. And I also wanted to just mention again my book, which is Power Networking from the Inside Out, where your career and your well-being meet, which is available on Amazon.
Yes, I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been great. Jen, I believe you and I are not meeting next week because of Labor Day and vacation situations, but we will be back, and we have a whole bunch of really amazing people that we will be chatting with throughout the coming months, because COVID is not going anywhere, and neither are we. So.
Well said.
Great. Thank you both for the platform, and it was a great opportunity for me to share. So thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right.
Thank you, Val.